So we'll get started in about 4 minutes, about 4 minutes, 20 seconds. Just wanted to come on just a little early, make sure everything is working properly. You guys can hear me, you can see me, all that good stuff. Raise this audio just a little bit. And we have some stuff to talk about today. Unfortunately, stimulus check stuff is not really in the works right now. So, well, I'm going to give you some more information, and I'll go over the stuff right now, and then we'll start the show and we'll go over them again. But the COVID numbers, I'm going to start looking at the COVID numbers, so I'll show you that. Hit another milestone over the weekend, so we'll talk about that. Unemployment map. So the enhanced unemployment, we're going to talk about that. So we have the map where we can show you who's applied, who hasn't applied, who's not applying as far as states go. So we'll go over that. And then we're going to take a quick look at the calendar again. I know we looked at the calendar yesterday, but we'll look at that again. And I just want to pose a question to everyone in the audience, because you have to watch politicians, not what they say, what they do. Okay, and I guess that's with anyone, right? If you want to trust someone, you have to believe in not only believe in what they're saying, but watch their actions to see if they're doing the things that go along with what they're saying, right? So we'll talk about that. And the payroll tax deferral. So I have a quick video I'm going to show you guys on that, and then we're going to talk a little bit about that. The payroll tax deferral starts September 1st, so tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So we'll get started. We have about two and a half minutes left before we get started. Thank you guys all for being here. Really appreciate it. If you guys could do me one favor, just one favor, hit the like button. It will bring more people into the discussion. And it's funny, and this is exactly what happened yesterday. Depending on the amount of likes that I have, that's how many people are in the room generally. I don't know how that or why that is, but that's generally the way it works. So YouTube promotes according to that. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works, but that's what I saw yesterday. So if you guys could hit that like button, I'd really appreciate it. It does help with the with that YouTube algorithm. Okay, so we have people in the building. Kathy, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member. Ronnie, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member. Larry, thank you for being here, and thank you also for being a member. Who else do we have in here? And I give all the members a shout out, so just so you guys know that, and that's why I'm saying thank you for being a member. But I thank all of you guys for being here. I really appreciate all the support from everyone in the building. And if you do have a question for me, just put @TEC, and I'll make sure to answer that question, or at least attempt to answer the question. Some of the questions we don't know. When are we getting the next stimulus check? We don't know. That's the only answer at this point, right? So anyone that's telling you otherwise, anyone that's telling you you're getting a check in mid-September, they're not being honest with you, because we do not know when exactly we'll be getting another stimulus check. Gene, thank you for being a member, and thank you for joining the live stream. And we have other people that came in early. Susan Shaw, thank you for being here. Ann, thank you for being here. Letha, thank you for being here. These are people that were early on in the game. If you guys don't know, when I announce a live stream, it's open. You can't watch the live stream, obviously, but the live stream is open in the sense that you can come in, you can chat and things like that. What I do a lot is, if I'm sitting at my desk, I have this open already. And I guess I can show you guys what I'm talking about, since I have that other camera that's on. Yeah, so when I'm here, I have this screen. You can't even see it. This screen right here. So I have this open. So when I'm sitting at my desk, and anytime I'm sitting at my desk, this is open, and so I have the live stream on, even though I'm doing other things. So just so you guys know, I'm just giving you guys a little behind the scenes. So if it's before the live stream and you're chatting in there, I see it sometimes, and I will chat back, just so you know that. So if you see me chatting back and you're thinking, wow, what's going on? Like, I didn't even expect him to be on here. But yeah, I do see chatter going on, and I will respond if I have time. Usually I'm setting up the show and getting everything ready. So I have a little bit of time, and I will chat. All right, we are down to zeros. So you know what that means. It is time to get going. So let's go. All righty. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for joining the live stream. So we have a few things to talk about today, and we're going to go over those right now. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the COVID numbers. So we'll bring up the COVID numbers. I'm going to start incorporating that in. So I'm also going to talk about more other news topics, but it's all going to be related to stimulus, the stimulus package and stimulus checks. We're going to look at the unemployment. So the enhanced unemployment map, I'll take a look at that. I'll show you guys exactly the states who've applied, the states who haven't applied, and the states that are refusing or are declining the money. So we'll take a look at that. We're also going to look at the calendar. So we want to look at the calendar, do a short. I have a question that I'm going to pose to you guys when it comes to the calendar, as far as the congressional calendar, when they're coming back. And I've said this, you have to not only look at what people are saying, but you have to look at their actions. And you should really, when it comes to politicians, you really need to look at their actions, because they can say a lot of different things, but really not come through in a lot of different situations. So you want to see what they're doing. So don't tell me you're going to do something, or tell me you want something, or tell me something's urgent, but then your actions are showing something different. So that's what we're going to look at when it comes to the calendar. We're also going to look at the payroll tax deferral. So that starts tomorrow. So we're going to have to focus on that. And I have a quick little clip I'll show you guys, and then we're going to talk about this, because this is going to be an interesting rollout. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm currently working, so I don't know what my employer is going to do. This is really going to be an interesting thing. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to open up to Q&A. So if you have questions for me in the chat, just put at TEC. Yeah, I almost forgot what to say. Put at TEC, and I'll make sure to answer those questions for you. And we have Miss Happy Apple in the building helping out here. And as soon as I see, let's move on down here. All right. So if you want to get my attention, just put at TEC, and that way I'll address those questions. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with the first story here. So COVID numbers. So let's take a look at the COVID numbers, and this is what we're looking at when it comes to the numbers. And okay. So this is Johns Hopkins. It's kind of weird how that doesn't flow right, but anyway. This is Johns Hopkins University, and they've been pretty much the go-to when it comes to looking at the numbers, okay, the COVID numbers. And so right now, the U.S., we have over 6 million confirmed cases, and so that was the milestone that I was talking about. We hit that milestone, unfortunately, and the death rate right now is, 183,000. So that's where we are when it comes to the COVID numbers. The numbers, right now, I think we're starting to, I'm not even going to say level off, but it's starting to slow down as far as the number of cases that we're receiving, or that we're getting. So that's a good thing. But there are certain states that are still spiking. And some of these states are new states that are now starting to spike. It's kind of weird how it's moving around from state to state. And some states might be doing well, but other states aren't doing well. So right now, I can't remember the exact states. I'd have to pull up even more information. But I don't want to dive too deep into the coronavirus numbers, but I did want to just mention that, because that does impact a lot when it comes to another stimulus package, because people are, politicians mainly, are looking at these numbers, and they're looking at the rate of infection and stuff like that to kind of determine, is another stimulus package needed, that kind of stuff. So not only are they looking at the economy, but they're also looking at the COVID numbers as well. So next thing we want to talk about, and that is right here. So we are going to take a look at the states now, the enhanced unemployment. So you guys remember enhanced unemployment. This was an executive order that the president signed, and he had a few memoranda, and this is a part of the memoranda. So basically, the states that are, let's just start from the beginning here. So the states that are grayed out, that's South Dakota. That's the only state that's grayed out, and they are declining to they're declining the money basically. And then we have Nebraska hasn't applied. That's the only state that has not applied as of today, and that's Nebraska. So pretty interesting why they're not they haven't applied and they haven't said that they're not taking it. It's kind of weird, but for whatever reason that's the case there. The light blue here, these are the people who are applying. So these are the states. So you have Nevada over here that's applying, and then you have approved. You have all the fluorescent green color. Those are all the people who have been approved, or all the states that have been approved, I should say. And then started paying. So we have all these states here that have started paying. Now I'm using Yahoo Finance. They do this every day. They're doing a really good job of providing this map for us to take a look at. So I appreciate that. All right, one last thing that I have to show you, and then we'll go to a video clip. But I wanted to show you the congressional calendar, and then actually before we even go to that video clip, I'm going to talk a little bit about this because this is interesting. Okay, so we talked about the calendar a couple of days ago. I'm coming back to the calendar now, and so we'll be looking at September, right? Or we can look at August, so the end of August. So from today's date, the 31st, that's today, and then we'll go into September, that September calendar. September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So this is the recess time, right? And they come back after Labor Day, so they'll come back on the 8th. So Tuesday the 8th, that's when they return. Now, what I find interesting about this whole situation is why don't they come back now? Why are they not here right now, today? Why wasn't that proposed by the leaders? Both Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. Hey, we need to get back to work. You hear these politicians coming out saying that this is urgent. We need to do something now. We just watched Mitch McConnell a couple of days ago, and he was at a press conference talking about how, or it wasn't even really a press conference, but he was in his home state talking. Well, I guess it is a press conference. He was talking to the press, and he was talking about the fact that this is urgent, that Nancy Pelosi needs to make a decision, all this kind of stuff, right? Just pretty much blaming it on the Democrats, but yet and still, we're not getting all the Congress people back to Washington, D.C. to work something out. You have this week, or you have, well, now you've missed the first day, but you have 4 more days this week to come back and get something done. But that's not what's going on, right? I mean, we're watching their actions. And just like I said, you have politicians will say something, but you need to watch what they do. They're not doing anything right now. They're still on recess. Now, last week, you know what? I'll give them a pass. I'll give the Republicans a pass because there was the national convention. So they wanted to, some of them were speaking and doing things like that, even though it was, on the internet or whatever, what do you call it? A Zoom conference. I don't know. But even though it was, a situation where they weren't in person. A lot of them were in person. I'll give them a pass because of that going on last week. But now we have this week, nothing's going on. Nothing's going on. You will have some Congress people return tomorrow because they have a congressional hearing. So Stephen Mnuchin will be testifying. So there will be a few back, but why not call everybody back? If there's an emergency, if this is something that's a crisis and needs to be dealt with right away, which I'm hearing a lot of politicians say that, everybody needs to be back. That's my opinion. Everybody needs to be back. And so I want to know what you guys think about this. So let me know in the comments below. Should Congress come back this week? Should they? Even if it's for 2 days. Even if they tell them, okay, you're going to come back, you'll be here Thursday and Friday, and we'll see if we can work towards something, start negotiations back up, all that stuff. Should they be coming back? I say yes. You guys let me know what you think when it comes down to it. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, when you look at the calendar, you start looking, okay, well, they've been talking about all this is urgent and everything like that. Why aren't they coming back? They have a few days. We have a few days to work, and we know how days work. We know how if you wait a couple of days, it might, things might change. You might be able to get something done before Labor Day, and that way, September 8th, all you're doing is approving a bill, and sending it to the president. But nonetheless, this is where we are right now, and you need to take note of what's going on and take note of of um, how things are going, and are they really doing what they're saying that they want to do, or are they just talking? I mean, let's face it. Right now, if I look at this, I'm just saying, hey, you know what? They're just talking. They're not serious about anything, because if they were serious, they would be in D.C. right now. And you do have some Congress people, senators, people in the House of Representatives that have been calling all this time, hey, we need to go back. We need to go back. So it is up to the leaders in order to call them back. So it would be Nancy Pelosi calling them back, as well as Mitch McConnell. Now, the focus should be on the Senate at this point, because the Senate is the one that needs to do something. They need to pass something. They have not passed anything yet. So the House, they already passed the HEROES Act. We all know that. That was 3 months ago. And so they've passed a package, but the Senate hasn't passed anything. And so we need participation with both the House and the Senate. Now, the Senate is saying they don't want to go with the HEROES Act. Okay, that's fine. They created the HEALS Act. That looks like it's not going anywhere. Now they're talking about creating another skinny bill, but that's even more reason why they should all be back in D.C., the senators, so they can figure out what they're going to do with this skinny bill, or what's going to be. They still haven't unveiled it yet. Like, they've been talking about unveiling for the last 2 weeks. I have not heard anything other than just kind of a draft of what's going to be in it. But that should be something. This skinny bill is something different than the HEALS Act, right? I mean, it has some of the same stuff in it, but it's scaled down. This is the perfect time to get that unveiled and have the senators back in D.C. so they can vote on this, if that's what they want to do. But unfortunately, that's not where we are. So, yeah, I don't know what to say when it comes down to it. It is very frustrating when I hear politicians saying things and then not showing, within their actions, not showing that, hey, this is serious to us. Because you can tell me it's serious all you want, but if you don't do anything, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna believe what you're saying, if that's the case. All right, so next story that I want to talk about is the payroll tax deferral. That starts tomorrow, September 1st. We will start seeing what businesses are going to do. And so I want to show you guys a clip real quick, and then we'll go ahead and talk about it.
Well, Kelly, businesses are warning that this is a no-win proposal, and that's because President Trump isn't actually cutting the 6.2% employee payroll tax. He's just allowing it to be deferred. So the question for businesses is, do they need to let each and every one of their employees decide whether to keep paying this tax or to push it off until next year? That, they say, would create an administrative nightmare. On the other hand, if businesses make a blanket decision to just defer this tax for all of their employees, some workers could face a nasty surprise come April 15th when they realize they actually owe the government money. A person making $35,000 a year, for example, could wind up owing more than $750. So a coalition of industry businesses is now cautioning that many of our members will likely decline to implement deferral, choosing instead to continue to withhold and remit to the government the payroll taxes required by law, aka the status quo. So, Kelly, the other challenge here is that these payroll taxes are used to fund Social Security. If they were not to be paid back, that would blow a $100 billion hole in the Social Security Trust Fund and move up the insolvency date by a couple of months. Back over to you.
Still, this is one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard, that, hey, businesses get a tax cut, but they say, yeah, we're going to keep sending the money to the government.
Right. Well, so part of the problem here is that the person who owes the tax is not the person who is in charge of collecting the money and paying the tax. And that discrepancy is why this is such an administrative nightmare for businesses. And workers just don't know what to do, and they don't want to have that tax bill come April 15th. So many people rely on that refund, Kelly.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, obviously they want to make sure people don't have to turn around and pay out of pocket. I guess it's a lose-lose. Elon, thanks very much. We'll see if anything changes ahead of that. Elon Moy.
All right, so you saw that, and this is, yes, businesses are going to be struggling with this whole decision, And what do they do? Like in a situation like this where, and let me just kind of explain if you guys didn't catch on exactly how it works. So the payroll tax is usually held by the businesses. So businesses, money comes in, 6.2%. They take that from your paycheck and they hold that and they pay the federal government. So the businesses hold it and pay the federal government. Well, now the federal government, due to the executive order, is saying that you can defer, so you can just allow that money to go through. So you don't have to collect. The business doesn't have to collect that 6.2%. They can allow that to go to the employee, and so the employee will make a little bit more in their paycheck every 2 weeks or every month whenever they get paid. And so businesses are now kind of in a situation, well, do we hold it or do we just let it go? If we let it go, and I'm not sure exactly, I don't know if they know all the details as far as how this will be, because it is a loan at this point. It's a loan that hasn't been forgiven. When will that money, like, will the federal government say, okay, instead of 6.2%, now you need to pay us 12.4%? I don't know, something like that. Or will it be in your taxes? Like when you file your taxes, that money is that when the money will come out there, or when you'll have to pay the money back there? So the way that they were saying is yes. So in your taxes, when you file your taxes for 2020, you're gonna have to claim the fact that you received this payroll tax money, and then you'll have to pay it back. That would be crazy for people, because there are a lot of people who they rely on that refund, that tax refund every year, and so now that tax refund is really going to be affected if the situation arises where it doesn't get forgiven. At this point, the president is saying, yes, it will get forgiven. I'm going to push for it to get forgiven. However, if I get reelected, I'm going to push for it to get forgiven. And those are his words. So he's kind of, I mean, it's sad for him to say something like that, right? Like, you're involuntarily receiving a loan, and then he's saying, well, I'm only going to push for getting it forgiven if I get reelected. And the reason that they're saying push, he has no power on his own to provide that funding. It has to come through Congress. And so Congress is going to have to vote on the fact that are we going to forgive this or not? And then the other issue is Social Security. Now, the White House has already indicated, well, the money's going to come from the general fund. It's not going to come from Social Security. But traditionally, that's where that money goes. Payroll tax, when they're pulling that money back from, when the businesses are holding on to that money, sending it to the federal government, that money goes to Social Security. So that's how, when you retire and you get to the age where you can start receiving Social Security, that's how you're receiving that money. You paid into it, and then you're able to receive it on the back end. But yeah, honestly, it's a mess. It really is. It's a mess for a lot of people, because you're now being forced to, or you could potentially be forced to take this loan that you didn't want, or you might not even need, right? Yes, everybody wants stimulus checks and stuff like that, but you just have to look at the whole situation. Do you want to take a loan as well and potentially have to pay that back, or have to hold on to the money yourself? And then there's the issue of, if I'm a business and I decide not to, so I'm going to continue withholding this money, right, and sending it to the federal government. Well, then that money is just lost if it gets forgiven in the future. So that's another thing that you have to look at, right? Because you're gonna have businesses that'll say, yeah, you know what, we're not gonna do this, and so they just continue to send the money to the federal government, and then at the very end of this, at the end of the year, when it expires, there's two things the president was saying. So when it expires, he's going to try to make it permanent, which would be, I don't know how that's going to happen, but he's going to try to make it permanent as well as get it forgiven. So there could be a situation where these businesses, they've been withholding the money, they've been sending it back to the federal government, and then they find out at the very end it might get forgiven. And if it does get forgiven, well, then the employees have lost all that money. So it's I'm telling you, yeah, it's just done completely the wrong way. Now, if you really wanted to do something for the American people, that this is something that obviously should have gone through Congress, right? Doing this is not going to help people, and you're going to have a lot of people that if they know what's going on, they're not going to spend that money. They're going to hold on to it, and rightfully so. Hold on to the money because you don't know what's going to happen, and then maybe after December, after you find out if it gets forgiven, then start spending it. But why spend it now and put yourself in a situation where you could potentially have to pay it back in April? So I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about this. So down below, let me know what you think about this. Also in the chat, let me know how you guys feel about it, and we'll go ahead and discuss that. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to the chat, and we'll talk about some stuff here. All right, guys, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button so we can get up to 1,000 likes. I'd really appreciate that. We have about 1,100 people in the building right now. Thank you guys all for being here. I really, really appreciate all the support. I love doing these live streams, so you guys are really making this an easy decision for me. I was kind of skeptical about doing live streams, not because I don't like doing them. I enjoy doing them, but just because of the response. When you're doing regular videos, usually you get a better response than if you do live streams. When I say response, I mean you get more views with the regular video. That's still the case, but the live streams, you guys seem to like those a lot, so that really pushes me to want to do more and more. So I appreciate it. All right, let's see. Let's move on down here. Kathy, thank you for being here. Let's see. The president is baiting us for votes to get the tax thing forgiven. Yeah, you know, it's kind of it's one of those things. I could never imagine any other politician ever saying something like that. And those were his words. Like, those were his words. If I get reelected, you know, it'll get forgiven. That's first what he was saying, it'll get forgiven, but he didn't really go into details as far as how that would happen. And then when he got pushback, and later, a couple of days later, he got pushback on it by some of the reporters, and then he was saying, yes, I'll push for Congress to forgive it. You know, they need to approve it, basically, is what he is saying. And that's the truth, right? The Congress, they carry the purse, so they're going to have to approve anything that goes down. And so now you're putting it in. Now you're not only, because you have to look at it like this, okay? Obviously, you have Democrats, you have Republicans. Unfortunately, they don't get along in a lot of things, right? And so you'll have some Democrats that are not going to be for this because they didn't sign up for it, right? Like, it's like you're just doing these executive orders. You need to figure out how this is going to be paid for because you're just forcing this on the people. When it comes to a payroll, like we know that President Trump back in May and June, he was drawing a red line with his payroll tax cut. That's what he wanted to do. And then he found out that he didn't have the support. He didn't have support from the Republicans or the Democrats. And so that's why he pulled off the payroll tax cut as far as being in the next stimulus package. And then he does this, which is the same thing, but even worse in the sense that it's something that is a loan instead of, you know, doing the tax cut first. Like, if you put it in a bill, you do the tax cut, then it's already, the funding is already there because Congress approves it and all that. But this is even worse because this is a situation where the funding is not there. You're just doing it, and it's going to affect Social Security right now. And, you know, I don't care if you're saying you're taking it from the general fund. Well, what's the plan? Like, if you're taking it from the general fund, take it from the general fund now. Why are we waiting until December, until after you get elected, in order to figure out how to get this money from the general fund? If that's the case, take it from the general fund now. But I can guarantee you they don't have that funding. That they don't have that money right now. They still need to get it from Congress. And so, yeah, we'll see where it goes. Let's see. Born Beauty Star, thank you for being here. Deborah, thank you for being here. Good to see you. All right. So if you have a question for me, just put @TEC. If you don't put @TEC, then I might give you a shout out, but I'm not going to read the question because I'll think it's either not a question or you're just making a statement. You might be talking about other things. When I first started doing live streams, I learned that really quickly, that people have different conversations back and forth with each other while you're doing the live stream. And so I'm in there reading, and I'm reading, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not a question, but I'm reading the stuff out loud. And so it looks kind of silly. So if you put at TEC, I know that you're directing it to me, and I'll answer that question. Mindy, thank you for being here. And she's saying, I'll take no action. I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be dangerous. I don't even know what my employer's going to do. Like, this is one of those things where I guess we'll hear something tomorrow, and they'll start going with it. In that video, I don't know if you caught in the video earlier, they were talking, and she was saying, yes, some employers are trying to figure out, should they rely on the employee? Ask the employee, hey, do you want this money now, or do you want us to withhold the money? And that's still a tricky situation, because what do you do? Like, do you say, if they give me the option? I mean, I would be a fool to say, oh God, see, it's tricky, because I myself would probably say, you know what? Because if they don't give you the money now, then you're going to miss out if it gets forgiven, right? So it might be one of those situations where, okay, you know what? Go ahead, give me that extra 6.2%. I'm just going to put that aside. I'll put it in a savings account, and and wait and wait until December. And if it's forgiven in December, then I'll go ahead and I'll have a nice little chunk of money that I can use for something, or keep it for an emergency situation if I need it. But yeah, that's very tricky. If your employer does give you that option, what do you do? Do you take it, or do you not take it? Let's see, Yvonne. How you doing, Yvonne? She's saying, so how is he going to push something that he can't either show his tax return? Oh, okay. Yeah, how is he going to push something he can't even show his tax returns? That's kind of a different topic, but hey, I see where you're coming from. But yeah, so when it comes down to it, this is one of those things that's getting forced on us, and it's unfortunate that we're not even signing up for something, but we might end up having to suffer the consequences. It's just going to be a mess at this point. Let's see. All right, guys. At TEC, if you have a question up, we got something up here. Let's see if you have a question. Okay, Dolly, what's going on, Dolly? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So let's see. Will we see a stimulus check before Thanksgiving? I hope so. You know what? It's going to have to be before the election. And that's the danger. That is the danger right now when you hear that, and I hear Mark Meadows, I hear Stephen Mnuchin. Stephen Mnuchin was on earlier today. I'll talk about that in a second. But when you hear them talk about, well, let's just get the things done that we need to get done now, and then we can do another bill in the future, it's very dangerous, because if you do go ahead with the enhanced unemployment, which will be expiring, so the enhanced unemployment will be expiring in September, so that's going to need to be addressed. So if you go ahead and go with that, and then maybe the eviction moratorium that they were talking about doing, the eviction moratorium, because this executive order, this memoranda that's out there for the the eviction moratorium, it's not an eviction moratorium, it's an eviction assistance program that basically the HUD will try to find different funding so you won't get evicted, but it doesn't keep you from being evicted. It's just helping you out with different programs that already exist to the federal government. So they're probably going to need to do some type of a full-on eviction moratorium. So if they do a package and it has certain things in it and it doesn't have that stimulus check, then we run a risk of not getting that stimulus check before the election, which means we won't see that stimulus check until maybe, well, I don't think we'll see it at all if President Trump gets reelected. I think it will just fall by the wayside. And the reason that I'm saying that is because if the president doesn't do it before the election, there's really no incentive to do it after. That's just the way that I see it. Now, if we have another administration come in, if Joe Biden wins, then there's a very good possibility that we could see another stimulus check, another stimulus package after the fact, after the election. But I think if President Trump wins, there's probably not that much. He doesn't really have a reason to do the stimulus checks if he's not getting the support. Like if he's not getting support from the Republicans, then there's not going to be a reason. The only other scenario that I can see is if the Senate goes to the Democrats. So if you have the House, the House stays, majority Democrats, so you still have Nancy Pelosi, and then Chuck Schumer takes over the Senate, and you have a majority Democrat Senate. Then we're looking at a situation where now they can go ahead and push through, because they're legislators. They can push through whatever they want. It'll go to the president, and I don't really see the president saying no to another stimulus check. I just don't think he would pursue it on his own if he wins, if he gets reelected. I just don't see it. If we don't see one before he gets elected. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and as far as Stephen Mnuchin, yes, he had an interview on Lou Dobbs, and some interviewers are really good, and this interview that I watched was just not. It wasn't. I like to. You guys know I like to show you the video, and I like to kind of go back and forth. And this was just not a good video to show. It was softball questions. Lou Dobbs was pretty much leading him into these different questions, so they were like easy questions to answer, and it just wasn't very informative. We didn't learn anything new from that interview. So that's the reason that I didn't show it. Basically, he's still blaming Nancy Pelosi. Democrats, they don't want to negotiate. They don't want to do these key things. If you take this interview, it's the same interview that he did 2 weeks ago, the same exact interview. And so, yeah, nothing new was put out there. Now, Stephen Mnuchin will be testifying tomorrow, so we might hear some more stuff tomorrow. We might have some, because those aren't going to be softball questions. Some of the questions will be softball questions coming from the Republicans, but I think some of the Democrats are going to really be hard on him about certain things, and so we'll see what comes of that. But that will be tomorrow. All right, and maybe that's why he did this kind of with Lou Dobbs, kind of a softball thing to kind of get his opinions out there, and then tomorrow is going to be a different situation. All right. Let's see. Is a deferral the first paycheck after September 1st? I would imagine, people have different. Yeah, I would think it's going to go on this payroll that, whatever pay cycle that you'll be on starting tomorrow. I don't know exactly how payrolls work, but yeah, this comes in the middle of like a pay period for me, so it's not like the beginning of the pay period tomorrow. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to roll that out, but I would think September 1st that's when it's effective. So they'll stop if your employer is normally withholding your 6.2%, they'll stop tomorrow. If that's what they're going to do, they'll stop tomorrow, and then all that money will be the money that you'll start receiving. So, yeah, good question though. Let's see. Okay. And David, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're cool. Thank you. All right. I just lost my place here. I gotta find it again. Okay, I'm just trying to find my place, guys. That super chat moves me all the way down to the bottom, so then I have to work my way back up. Okay. All right, guys, let's see. Let's move on down here. So make sure you put at TEC if you have a question for me. And I apologize. I know I missed some questions because I got moved down and I've been I'm trying to find my place and it's a little, I don't know exactly where I left off. Mary's asking, will we see a shutdown? That's going to be interesting. I hope not. I really do hope not. Now, so for those of you who don't know, September 30th is the end of the fiscal year. So they need to provide like a plan as far as funding the departments, the federal departments for the rest of, or for the next fiscal year. And what they could do is do a continued resolution, which is what they do a lot anyways. And what that means is they'll just continue with the same funding for the next fiscal year, or they'll say we'll do a continued resolution for a couple of months and then we'll revisit it at that time, which they do that as well. So we'll probably see a continued resolution, but being that we're talking about the stimulus package and things like that, there is a situation where there could be a situation where, and this is what Mark Meadows was kind of indicating, that he thinks Nancy Pelosi is going to use this government, the budget talks as a negotiating tool. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see where they go with it. But yeah, this could have, oh God, this could have all been avoided. I keep saying that. If we would have gotten a bill passed in June, we would have avoided all this. But now you're waiting to the last minute. Everything is just is coming up at the same time. You have the airline industry begging the government to do something about the fact that they're losing a lot of money. And they're now going to have to furlough people, which basically a furlough for the airline industry means you're getting laid off. Like they will hire you back when they can, but you're going to be furloughed. You're not going to have a job until they're able to start back up again. And we know, like, I mean, just imagine how bad the airline industry is hurting because we've all been shut down. The federal government has shut down our borders, or some of our borders. A lot of other countries have shut down their borders, so we can't fly in other countries. So a lot of the travel that we were doing before, we can't do it anymore. My favorite destination, Colombia, I can't go there right now. It's locked down. They've closed their borders. So it's one of those situations where, yes, the airline industry is hurting. Now, some people might say, well, why do we care about the airline industry? Well, they do a lot for us. Trust me. They bring a lot of our packages and things like that. I had no idea, and I've been doing more and more. Like as I travel more and more, I'm sitting at the airport a lot, and I'm more interested in aviation and stuff like that. And a lot of airlines they transport a lot of packages and things like that. So UPS, FedEx, they have their own airline, own aircraft, but they also transport like U.S. mail, a lot of U.S. mail. Like I remember I was sitting at an airport and I'm looking and I see this, and I used to work at the post office. I worked for a couple of years, so I know like the what mail looks like when it's in it's packaged up and all that stuff. And I'm seeing all this mail and they're putting it in one of these airplanes. I don't know if it was United or American Airlines or whatever, what have you. And then come to find out, I did a little research. Yeah, they will fly. Like if they have extra room, they throw that mail in there and transport that mail. So they do a lot. They do a lot when it comes to travel. And then you also have to think about businesses and things like that utilize the airline industry and just I want to be able to get on a plane and travel and go places when things get better. I mean, obviously now is not the time, but what they were doing before is in the CARES Act, they had funding for these different the different airlines, basically giving them money in order for them to pay their employees and keep everything going, because you're talking about skilled employees, right? You're talking about a pilot. You don't want to just lay a pilot off, because if you just lay a pilot off, then now you have to find another pilot, retrain, or train them the way you want. So there's a lot that goes into the people working for these different these different airlines, and flight attendants the same way. They have special training. It's not just like you can apply and start work the next day or start work in a couple of weeks. It takes time to be trained and everything. Even the baggage handlers and everyone who's gone through security clearance, all that stuff, it's the same thing. Like, it takes time for you to get to that level, and so it's much easier. And a lot of countries were doing this too. They were basically funding like these companies that were struggling or that couldn't stay open, and they told me, you need to close. The other countries were providing them money to pay their employees so they can keep their employees on the payroll, which I think is a good thing, especially for medical insurance and things like that. I think it's the right way to do it. Okay, so let's see, Miss Buffy. So she's asking about, once your state is approved, and I'm assuming you're talking about the enhanced unemployment. How long does it take to receive a payout? Now that's gonna depend on your state. Okay, it's a state unemployment. That's the state unemployment office. That's where you need to contact. So if you're in that situation, you need to contact them and find out when you would start receiving that additional $300. All right. Okay, Yvonne saying yes. Get out to vote. Definitely. Make sure you guys vote. Okay. Other questions here? So, Sarah, you're asking, how long do you think it will take from the approval date to deposit date for LWA? I don't know what LWA is. Yeah, so I don't know if I can answer. I can't answer that for you. You have to be more. Let me know what you're talking about. Allison Morgan, thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, whatever happened to the Fed stepping in and stimulus? Okay, so the Fed can't do stimulus checks. Okay, they're not able to. Congress has the purse, so they have the money, and so Congress can issue out stimulus checks or approve a stimulus check, which can be issued out by the government, but the Fed does not. They don't have the purse, and Jerome Powell. That's why he continues to say that, this is a legislative decision. This is something that needs to be done through legislation. But he's saying that we need it. He's definitely saying that we need more stimulus, and so that's pretty much where we are when it comes to that. Too cool. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much. What a great show. Thanks for all your knowledge. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Christina Clark, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Christina Clark. We might be related. Let's see. So Marty's asking, is Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell just delaying the passing of the stimulus bill until they find out if Republicans get majority of the House? I don't think so. I think it's a smarter move to do it before the election than to wait until after the election, because you're going to have so many upset. I mean, we have so many upset people already, but I could only imagine if we do not get a stimulus check before the election, you're going to have some people really upset. You're going to have people who don't normally vote go to vote just because they're mad that Congress couldn't get their act together, the president couldn't get his act together and get us a stimulus check. So I don't think it's a smart move to wait and then you're waiting on a situation where I can't really see the Republicans taking back the House. Not right now. I just don't see that. They're going to be struggling when it comes to the Senate because maintaining the Senate is what I'm saying. Because right now you have 53 Republicans in the Senate. You have 45 Democrats in the Senate, and you have 2 independents. Those 2 independents, they caucus with the Democrats, so basically they vote with the Democrats. So the danger is you have 23 Republicans running for re-election in the Senate, and then you have 12 Democrats running for re-election. So there's much more exposure when it comes to the Senate Republicans running for re-election, and if it swings, it swings either way. Like it could easily swing towards the Democrats, and they could win the Senate. So that's more of a danger than having the Republicans take over the House. I don't foresee that happening. I really don't. So yeah, I don't. It's just my opinion. I don't think that's a good strategy for them to wait to see if they get a majority. I think if you're going to do a stimulus check or stimulus bill, you're going to want to do it before the election because that will look like you're getting something done. I just could not imagine all of September nothing gets done, all of October nothing gets done, and then we go into an election. I could not imagine people being happy about that. I think people would be very, very upset. And I think the thing is the president is going to take the most of this when it comes to now. Everyone is to blame. Everyone will be to blame in the situation, but the president's going to take the blunt of it because he's the president. Everyone looks at the president and says, okay, well, you need to get these guys together. And even though you have the legislative branch, you have the executive branch, and they are separate and they have their own separate powers, people are still going to look at the president and they're going to hold him accountable. Not only do they look at him and they're going to hold him accountable, a lot of these other people they can't hold accountable. Nancy Pelosi, you can't hold her accountable unless you're in her district, right? So she can get reelected just from her district. You have no control over that. So if you don't like her, there's nothing you can do as far as voting to get her out of office. The only thing that you can do is, you can't even really do that. Like the only thing that can happen is if the Republicans do take over the House, well, then now she's not the speaker. Just like the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, it's the same thing. I live in California. I can't affect that election in Kentucky. But if he can get reelected in Kentucky, I have no control over that. But if we do have a change of leadership in the Senate, well, then that's when he'll still have his job, but he's not going to be the leader anymore. So yeah, I don't see that as being a smart move if that's their tactic. Leon saying, I love your videos and shows. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Uh-oh. Lost my place again. Let me go back up here. Okay, and when I say, just for clarification, so when I say I lost my place, if I'm scrolling down and someone, for whatever reason, YouTube doesn't, I don't know how they do this, but sometimes it will just drop me down to the very bottom. So as I'm scrolling, I end up at the very bottom. And so then I have to go back up and try to find my way. At Ted, lost wage assistance. I don't know what that means. So is that LWA, lost wage assistance? Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't even remember what the question was. Yeah. The lost wage assistance. Are you talking about like? Yeah, I'm lost. I'm lost. Let me know exactly what you're saying, and then I'll do some research on it. I don't know what the lost wage assistance is. Born Beauty Star saying the airlines need to lay off, and that's fine. it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And then you also have to look at the economy too. Like this, our airline industry um, is big. It's huge. And so if you are laying a lot of people off, then that's going to affect our economy. So when you hear like certain like the banking industry, the automobile industry, things like that, uh, yeah, you could be quick to say, yeah, you know what, just lay them off. Just let them all, just lay them off. But then you have to think, okay, how is that going to affect us as a country overall? Do we want to have foreign airline carriers based in the U.S. and use the foreign airline carrier? Like, if United goes under, if Delta goes under, if American Airlines go under, now we have Econo Airlines. So we have Southwest, JetBlue. We have some of those. Maybe some of those will be able to stay around, but they don't travel outside. They don't travel too far outside the country. JetBlue is now they're trying to get to where they can fly to London. I think, well, the plan was 2021, they would have jets that could fly to London. And then from there, then now you have more, you have more flexibility. You can fly to different places. But a lot of these smaller airlines, they don't fly outside of the U.S. And if they do, it's to Mexico or it's to Panama or Colombia or something like that. They're not flying overseas. And so do you want to be in a situation where now you're locked in your country because you can't fly anywhere, or you have to rely on foreign airline carriers? So we don't want to lose that. We want to be able to keep our airlines. That's just my opinion when it comes down to it. And the same thing with the automobile industry. There was a lot of talk when they were bailing out the auto industry. But we rely on our automobile, like a lot of the automobiles that we purchase and build are, if it's American made, you have to think of different agencies that might use it, law enforcement, military. Do you want to have like foreign interference, I guess? I don't know what you want to call it, but let's say you have cars that are made in a different country, but they're made for our military. It's kind of, and so if there is a situation, conflict, they know how our vehicles work. And so, yeah, it's kind of a tricky situation, but at this point, I think it's better. It's a better situation to give them funding now and then because the virus is the issue. The virus is the issue. If we can take care of the virus, then everything else will eventually fall into place. And so I think some of these businesses do need to be held up for right now. When I say held up, I mean like, given some funding for now, and then work on this virus and then move forward from there. Now, airlines are going to have to streamline anyway, but if they do it all at once, it could mean that they're going to shut down and like have to go bankrupt and not be able to operate anymore. So that's the danger. That's what I don't want. Let's see. Christina Clark. Let's see. I didn't see that. Okay. Does Congress have more days on recess than in session on congressional calendar? I don't know. I don't think they have more days. We can pull up the calendar real quick again. I don't think they have more days, but it's a lot of days. It's at least a week out of every month, it looks like. Yeah, so looking at the calendar, I mean, and this is 2020, so 2021 will be different, but January, it looks like they had at least a week off there, a couple of holidays in there. And then in February, they had a week off. March, they had another week off. April, they had 2 weeks off. May was pretty busy, right? I mean, considering they still had a week off, but and then June. Now this is what I was saying. Now the colors here. So the purple, that means that they're both in session. So you have both the House and the Senate in session. That's what purple is. And then the red is the Senate. The Senate is in session, but the House is not. So you see June. You see how busy they were in June, right? The senators were there pretty much the whole month. They were there the whole month. And that's when things should have gotten done. That's when we should have saw another stimulus package. And it was set up perfectly because in May 15th, that's when the HEROES Act was signed. Or not signed, I'm sorry, was approved by the House and sent over to the Senate. They had the whole month that they were there to look over that. And nope, we're going to wait and see. We're going to wait and see. And then we hit July. And then when we hit July, then it was like, oh, yeah, we want to see the jobs numbers. And then they came in and then they went on recess. And as soon as they went on recess, the senators went on recess on the 7th. So when they went on recess, they were gone. They didn't come back until the 20th. And that first week, they didn't do anything. And then on the 27th, July 27th, that's when they said, okay, yeah, let's this is our proposal. This is the HEALS Act. So they presented it to us, and nothing got done from that point. And so then all of August, you see August, you had 5 days here that the senators were there in red. And then after that, then we had some recess, and then the House came back. When did the House come back? Was it the 16th? I think it was the 16th. 16th or the 20th? No, I'm looking at the wrong thing. The 15th or the 22nd? I can't remember. But they came back for that emergency approval of the the Postal Service. And so then now they're looking at September. September, they're going to be there a lot. So they're only going to take that first week off. Or this week, I should say, and then they'll be back. October's a light month, very light month, right? So you need to get something done in September. If you don't get something done in September, October doesn't look very good as far as getting something done. They're the majority of the time they're not going to be there. November, they're not going to come back until after the election. So after the election, I'm telling you, if we don't have a stimulus package before the election, we're not going to see anything. We're not going to see anything until maybe next year sometime. Then you have December, of course. And it's interesting. December, they're there a lot, considering that it's the holidays. They're there a lot, right? So, yeah, interesting. But yeah, I would say they're there more than they're not. But understand, they're on recess, so officially on the books, they're still working. They have local offices that they go to, and they're there doing work. The only problem is they can't legislate from home, or they can't actually physically. They physically need to be in D.C. in order to vote for things, so they can't do their legislative duties when they're at home. Okay. All right, I want to check one thing out, because things bug me when I don't know exactly what you're asking. So let me look something up. Let me Google it. Oh, so you're just talking about, okay, so that's what they're calling it. All right, I get you. I get it now. The whole lost wage assistance thing. That was just the executive order. Okay. I get it. All right. Living condition, the weekly unemployment benefits amount. So I don't remember your question, but I know someone else asked. They were asking about the assistance. It's gonna depend on your state. So you're gonna have to contact your state and find out what the amount will be. Okay. Now the federal government should be giving you $300 regardless. But then as far as each state, you're gonna have to figure out each state how that plays out. So I hope that answers your question. If you have a further question, just put it in the comment section, and I'll address it in more detail. And Flipping more says Republicans will not take back the House. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little while before they're able to take the House again. Okay. And Guy saying that McConnell sure has changed his tune. Yeah, he did go from wait and see to this is critical. We need to get something done immediately. But like I said, I was saying earlier about you need to show your um, you can't just say you want to do something. You got to show me you want to do something. You got to show me by your actions, right? And so if you're telling me something's urgent, something needs to get done, that people are struggling, then show me by your actions. Show me that you really want to get something done. Sit at the table. That's the first thing. Like, you want to negotiate, okay, sit at the table. That's your job, to be sitting at that table. As a leader in the Senate, you should be there in all those meetings with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, Mark Meadows and Steve Mnuchin. You should be sitting with them and trying to get something done because you're the legislator. They're not. Steve Mnuchin and Mark Meadows. It's kind of funny because they're complaining about Nancy Pelosi's not giving them all the details and stuff like that. If you actually had Mitch McConnell and maybe some more of his leadership, Senator Thune and some of the other leaders in the Senate on the Republican side, if you had them in the room, they could be working out the bill right there in the room. But now what they have to do is Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer might say, okay, we want this, we want that, we want this. And then Mark Meadows and Steve Mnuchin have to go to the Senate, go to Mitch McConnell and say, hey, this is what they want. And then they have to kind of figure out, okay, is this something that we can get done or whatever? You need to have those people in the room. And until that happens, it's going to be hard for us to get something going because it's just, it's just not going to work. Now, before with the CARES Act, and I think they're basing their strategy on what happened with the CARES Act. With the CARES Act, Mitch McConnell wasn't in the room either, but Stephen Mnuchin was there. Mark Meadows wasn't, but Stephen Mnuchin everybody wanted something to happen. They were all eager on both sides. The Republicans and the Democrats knew that we needed a stimulus package. So there wasn't a fight. There wasn't a fight at all. It was just like, okay, this is how much it's going to be. This is what's going to be in it. They argued a little bit about how much for a stimulus check and stuff like that, but that was it. Like it wasn't a hard sell. Now it's a little harder to sell, and there are people who don't want a stimulus package, and the Republicans they got their way. I think Nancy Pelosi is still a little upset with the fact that with the CARES Act, so you had the CARES Act that was signed on the 27th, March 27th, and then April 23rd or April 26th, they had an extension that was a skinny bill, like a little bill that had more funding for PPP. That went through and was approved and signed off by the president on the 26th. But that was like an interim bill. It wasn't a full-on stimulus package. And Nancy Pelosi wanted another stimulus package at that time, but they settled for this because it was like, okay, you know what? We need to get this PPP funding so these businesses can stay afloat. So they went ahead and did that. They added a few things to it. But then as soon as it was signed, then Mitch McConnell, that's when he started saying, let's wait. Let's hold off. And so I think Nancy Pelosi is was very upset about that because now they held off until July 27th. So you go from April 26th is when the skinny bill was signed, and then July 27th is when they're talking again, and now you're still hearing about, hey, you know what? Let's break it up a little bit. Let's have a little, skinny bill here, skinny bill there. Yeah, so that's probably why she's so adamantly against doing something like that, another skinny bill. All right, guys, we'll be on for a few more minutes here. Please, if you guys can do me a favor, hit that like button. That will really help out with our YouTube algorithm, and it will push this video out to more people after we're done here. Let's see. I don't know where Kevin is. Kevin said he was going to be in the building. I do not have the link, but Kevin does have a GoFundMe, and so he's in our Discord. So if you guys check out our Discord, he's there. If he was in the building right now, he could post a link for you guys, but I do not see him in here. So let's see. Mary saying, I can't give you my money. I have bills to pay. I totally understand. Don't worry about that. Never worry about super chats or anything like that. All you have to do is put at TEC. I'm gonna answer your question, okay, or at least address you. Even if you just want to say at TEC, you're doing a great job, or at TEC, whatever. I will at least address it. So you don't have to send me any money or anything like that. I appreciate all you need to do is support me by being here, hitting the like button. I'm happy. Okay. So yeah, I get it. We are in tough times, and not everyone has money to to do super chats and things like that. I didn't even know what a super chat was last year. That's when I started doing live streams last year. I didn't know what a super chat was. And so, no, yeah, don't worry about that. Let's see. And Joan is saying, thank you for the information. Joan from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Cool, cool. Jeff saying, I don't know why they can't work from home. We do. Are you referring to the airline industry? I don't know if you're referring to the airline industry or or the Congress people. Maybe the Congress people. I don't know. The only problem with them working from home or them being on recess when it comes to Congress people is they can't legislate. They can't vote on bills from home. And they changed. I shouldn't say they changed that. They were trying to change that. Actually, Democrats wanted to change that so they can do some vote from home. But I guess that would probably mean more recess. But they were trying to allow that just for emergency situations like COVID-19, where they didn't want to have 435 people in the same room at the same time voting on a bill. And so that didn't work. Yeah, they pretty much they voted that down. So or they didn't. I don't even think they even voted on it. But anyway, that's not the case. They have to show up. But what they're doing now is they're having surrogates on their behalf. So you have other Congress people that will. So let's say you have 30 Congress people in the room, and then they will vote on the other person's behalf. So they don't all have to be in the room at the same time. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to go through these last questions here. And let's see. Al saying, do you believe the next bill, if passed, would be the last, regardless of what's agreed upon? Hope to see. You know what? Yeah. That's I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen. I think this will be this will be the last bill before our election. So if we get something approved now, it'll be the last bill before our election. I do hope that there's stimulus checks in it, because if not, then I don't think we're going to see a stimulus check anytime soon. It would have to be next year, and it would have to depend on who gets reelected or who gets elected. But when it comes down to it, I think if we do, yeah, see, I don't know. I don't know. This is the reason why I'm pushing for get everything in there now. Don't do a skinny bill. Get everything in there now, and then we don't have to think about it. Like, we don't have to think about it a couple months down the road, hey, we need to do another stimulus check or another stimulus package. Do it like the CARES Act. Put everything in there, and just let it ride. Let's see. Kyle saying thanks for another great live stream. Do you talk about the airlines getting rid of the change fees? You know what? I didn't talk about that. Let's see, only get rid of it until 2021, while Delta and United got rid of it permanently. Yeah, and you know it's really funny. I had to pay that change fee on United right, but this was in February. No, it was in March, early March, right before or whenever it was. Whenever I made the change, it was right before. It was like a couple of days before they suspended it. And if you guys don't know about change fees, basically, if you make a change to your ticket, they charge you money to do that. And this is how oh God, this is how bad it is or bad it was because they've suspended it now. At least United has. Um, I needed to cancel a flight, and I wanted to do it the right way, okay? Because I had a couple of flights. So I had a flight from I was in Colombia, so I had a flight from um, Cartagena to Bogota. So I had a flight from Cartagena to Bogota. And then, and this is going to sound weird, or I'm sorry, what was it? Oh, yeah, I can't even remember now. Oh, yeah. I'll just give the example. I don't remember exactly my flight path, but basically, oh, that's what it was. I was going to fly to Bogota, or I needed to find my way back to Bogota. So I was going to get to Bogota. I was going to stay in Bogota a couple of days. I was going to fly to Cartagena for a weekend and then fly back to Bogota. Now, the reason that I did that is because when you start getting into these points and miles and stuff like that, you start to realize that there are some ways that you can get like, well, I'm using points to fly, so I'm not paying for the flight. And then I can also get what's called stopover. And a stopover allows me to fly to another destination, and I don't have to pay for that ticket at all. And it's just a free flight. I don't have to use points or I don't have to do anything. So that's what I did. I did a stopover. So I flew into Bogota, stayed there for a couple of days, and then I was going to fly to Cartagena and stay in Cartagena for the weekend, and then fly back to Bogota and then fly home. Well, things changed, and I was out. I was in Colombia for 20 days. So things changed where I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to Bogota early. I would just rather go straight to Cartagena, catch that flight from Cartagena that I was going to originally catch back to Bogota, and then go home. Well, because I had to cancel that flight from Bogota to Cartagena, they charged me, I think it was like 50 bucks, $75 or something like that. So I canceled a flight and they charged me money just to cancel a flight. Now, I could have been dishonest and do what they don't want you to do, just miss the flight, right? But they frown upon that. If you just miss the flight, they could potentially cancel your next flight. So if I would have missed that flight from Bogota to Cartagena, they could have canceled that flight back from Cartagena to Bogota, which would have meant that I had to pay for that flight and I wouldn't have been able to get home. So yeah, airlines, they do some tricky things. But yeah, that is interesting though, the change fees. All right. Okay, guys. We're gonna go down. We'll have 2 more minutes on, and then we'll be taking off. If you on your way out, please, if you have not done so, hit the like button. It will help with the algorithm uh, on the uh, on the rebroadcast. Okay. Dang. Yeah, they're sneaky. That is for sure. They are very sneaky. And the funny thing is, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was thinking I'm doing the right thing, like calling and canceling. I wasn't even thinking about this change fee. And oh yeah, we're gonna have to charge your account or charge your credit card $75. I'm like, what? Wait a minute, I'll take that flight and then miss it. Then they'll. But that's how they get you. They will cancel your next flight. You'll get stuck, and then you'll really be in a bind because you have to pay for a flight last minute, which even though it's a short trip, it's still going to cost some money. Let's see. I read today. I got 5 weeks LAW benefits along with my state benefits. Okay. So Marty's asking about reoccurring payments. I don't think that's going to happen. No, I don't. The only possible scenario that I see when it comes to reoccurring payments, and we'll still have to be kind of in the situation that we are now when it comes to the virus next year, sometime after January 20th, if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get elected. Kamala Harris, she co-authored a bill, reoccurring payments. That could be a situation where we see that, or if we see another outbreak starting next year and they're in office, then there could be push for that. But that's the only scenario that I see. Republicans in the Senate are definitely not going to go for it. You might have some Democrats that will go for it. You might have some Democrats that won't go for it either. So it's it's going to be a tricky thing. The only way that I can see it happening is if you have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in office. Then there's a possibility, and then you would probably have to have the Democrats take over the Senate, and then we could potentially see something. We have a new member. Thank you for being a new member, P Barb. All right, so for all the members, I'm going to be doing a video probably later tonight. I'll probably put it out tomorrow, either tomorrow or the next day. And then we're going to start the Discord. So that's the one thing. The Discord's going to be open for everyone who's a member. And then I'll start kind of getting your ideas as far as when to do a live stream. So we'll talk about both of those things. I'll ask you to comment below. So all you need to do in the video, it's going to be a video for members only, but just comment below and let me know what you guys want and when you guys think a good live stream would be. So for those of you who don't know, so the top tier members will get a live stream. I think what I'm going to do for the first couple of months, I'm going to do a live stream for everyone, for all the members, a private live stream. So, and then after the 2 months, then it's just going to be the top tier that gets the live stream. Okay. So I'll be dropping that video. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, airline. Okay, so just so you know, Born Beauty Star. Yeah, airlines they scam you, but you have to know how to play the game. And I learned how to play the game. I didn't know how to play the game before, and yes, they were getting me every time. And even in this situation, yeah, they got me for $75, but I was flying for that whole trip was $85. I used points, and it was $85 out of my pocket. I was flying business class the whole way, and I had what is it? I was able to travel to 3 different destinations. So if you learn how to get them, like even though I'm paying $75 and I was upset to pay the $75, I got out. I got away good on that whole trip. And so, yeah, you just have to learn. And that's, I talked a lot about that. I will start talking about it in future, once we get our stimulus package, our stimulus check, and we start moving on to some other topics, I will start sharing some more of that information. But yeah, you just have to know how to work it out. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the airline industry now. I don't know if they're going to be a lot tighter on what they allow you to do, allow you to have as far as points and stuff like that. We'll have to see. But yeah, you have to know how to work them. And Craig's saying, isn't that called flyaway robbery? Yeah. Flyaway robbery. That's funny. All right. Miss Happy Apple, thank you very much. Not only are you helping me out, but you're giving me super chats. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All righty. All right, guys, we are going to take off. The schedule, so I'll be doing not a live stream. I'll be doing a regular video tomorrow morning. I'm sticking to that schedule, 7 a.m. So you'll see a 7 a.m. live stream, you'll see a 7 a.m. video tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then we'll be back on live on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm going to keep it Saturday and Sunday at 1 p.m. and see how that works. I think Sherry was in here earlier. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to do something real quick. So I was telling Sherry that I was going to add her as a moderator. Thank you very much, Sherry, for all your help. You are now a moderator in the group or on YouTube. All right. Okay, guys. Any other questions? Last minute. I'll give it one more minute and then we'll take off. Thank you guys for all the super chats. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all you guys for being here. I appreciate all the new members. And yeah, it's been fun. I'm enjoying this. So yeah, Sherry. Yeah, you are now a moderator there, Sherry. Thank you for helping out. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, we're going to take off. Talk to you guys later. Bye.